Want to welcome our listeners to the pilot episode of the Numisphere podcast. My name is TJ.
And I'm Tyler.
And together we are the Numisphere podcast. This is our pilot episode and we wanted to celebrate in good fashion. So let's give a good old cheers and wish us the best of luck. With that being said, let's kick this off with a topic that has value for not just the consumer, but also for the retail local coin shop. Why is it important to build a relationship with your local coin shop? Well, I know for myself, I'm always aiming for those better deals. And honestly, I'm looking for help on my strategy for stacking. What about you, Tyler?
I'm really trying to find someone who knows more than I do and take the opportunity to learn from them what I can, because I only know what I know.
Absolutely. And there certainly is something that goes unrealized, but that trusted source and that face that you get to speak with when you have questions, and that encounter that you have with the coin when you get to actually hold it in your hand as opposed to look at a picture through online, can make a big difference in your purchases.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, local coin shops can be a bit intimidating. I'm sure that you've experienced this yourself. I know I have. There is that atypical or a stereotypical local coin shop with the old man in the background, reeking of cigars, right?
Absolutely.
And he looks pretty grumpy. You don't necessarily want to ask him questions because you're worried he might, chew your ear off and tell you to get out. But it doesn't just stop there. There's lots of different kinds. And I know that for us, coming up here as new, younger crowd, being younger professionals in the numismatic community, we definitely are looking more so at the emphasis of customer service. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, there's other examples out there. What are some of the ones that you've seen?
The biggest thing that I'm starting to see come up is a complete decimation of all that stereotypical grumpy old man. We're seeing people really want to come out. They have a new passion for the hobby, a new passion for collecting bullion and stacking and understanding why. And it's creating a new community beyond just what we have online. I mean, social media and all these tools online are excellent, but that will only go so far, right?
Absolutely.
So being able to get that genuine customer service from people who are in the industry, they generally know what they're talking about and have experience that, the keyboard warrior might not be able to convey or provide to people.
Absolutely. And it does take a skilled numismatist to be able to authenticate certain pieces and also to kind of look into what types of varieties those things might be. And when you have a relationship with a coin shop, you can go in and help or get help from your local coin shop to research that, identify that value, and help you make your decision on whether you're going to do something like certify that coin.
Absolutely, because there's only so much information that you yourself can consume online until it might just be too much, right? If the value of that coin suddenly becomes a 5-6-figure coin and you're guessing, well, you definitely want another opinion. And generally, you don't want to send that coin out to someone online or ship it across the country for another opinion. So you want to go find your local shop, hopefully an expert. And if they may not know, if they're a good numismatist, they'll find someone who does within a local community.
Absolutely. Or the resource, right? They can at least identify a resource to help them figure out what that variant might be. Absolutely. Huge benefits coming from that. The significance, I think, of a local coin shop goes even further. I know that for myself, looking for those good deals, I've definitely found that when you have rapport with that local coin shop, they're going to call you up when they just took in a big swath of silver for a decent price. And if they need to move it, they might think of you to come in and get that lower price silver.
I will say that does take time with your local shop, though, right? You've stopped by once, you leave a phone number, you've spent no money, you've taken no time to interact with them. You're not the first call. Right. So building that rapport and that true relationship with them is what makes all the difference, which, again, generally you're not going to get with these national online retailers because you're dealing with a screen. You might get a phone number and this one salesperson you deal with, but you don't have the relationship. They don't know who you are generally. And it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. But that experience with the local coin shop can definitely go quite a ways for sure. And I know that we've obviously had quite a few different experiences ourselves, not just on the business side of things where we're dealing with customers coming into the shop, but when we are the customers and going out there and purchasing. I know that you have an experience that you like to reflect on with somebody that you knew in the industry, a coin shop that you visited. They weren't too far away, and unfortunately, I know that they passed, but there was a good relationship there. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
When I was just getting into collecting, I really didn't have local resources, and I was able to take a little trip out. I met this gentleman, and I was really into currency at the time. That's kind of what really sparked my interest. And he actually had this $5 Indian Chief note, absolutely gorgeous, had been uncirculated, crisp. Everything about it was just amazing, right? And he actually took the time to have a conversation with me, educate me about the note, the history behind it, show me some pricing and actual resources out there, so I knew that I wasn't getting ripped off at the time. And he probably spent maybe an hour just talking to me about this stuff, and he was able to close out almost a $2,000 sale with it. And I left feeling encouraged that there were people who actually wanted to help me out and genuinely cared about continuing the hobby and making sure people knew what they were doing and how they were spending their money.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you got a lot more than just the bill, maybe even a little bit of education about that particular note or that series that you're looking at.
Absolutely, yeah. He took a substantial amount of time and actually spoke with me. You know, I didn't feel put off. It wasn't coming in, this grumpy man. You know, you definitely had to break the ice with him.
Sure.
Because, of course, you do. You got to introduce yourself. Hey, how you doing? My name's Tyler.
Right.
You know, here's what I'm looking to do. Would you be able to help me out? Or what do you have that might fall in my price range? Or show me something that you think is awesome.
Right. You've talked about this before, and I think you've talked about it in an articulate way, but there is a phase when you initially introduce yourself to a local coin shop, and we're calling it the courting phase.
Yep.
And it's that phase where you're feeling out the coin shop owner is feeling out you, and we're kind of seeing, is one trying to be a predator to the other? And once we get by that initial stage and maybe break the ice with a hello and an introduction, right, we can start kind of figuring out where each other's priorities are and how we can align with each other.
Right. Your first interaction when you go into any shop, out of the blue, you don't know them, you've never met them, you've never spent a cent with them. You really can't just go in there thinking that you're going to get the best deal, the best opportunities compared to anybody else. But once you've gone in a few times, you've spent a little bit of money, you've built a relationship by taking the time to talk to them, treat them like a human, and not waste their time on a 1943 copper cent that is not 1943 copper cent.
We've had a few of those.
So once they know you're serious and you're genuine and you actually are a person who's willing to be a person with them, that makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just this point in the game where once you get by that initial courting phase, you start having a discussion, the defensive walls come down, it becomes more of a, I'm going to teach you a little bit of this, and we learn a little bit more of that. But on the other side, as a coin shop owner and dealing with some of the customers, there is quite a few funny scenarios that we've experienced. Some of the ones that stick out to me are the ones that may already think that they know it all. And that could be because they watched several YouTube videos or podcasts, took in some content, right? And then maybe they were savvy to go and look up things on eBay. But that does not necessarily make them an expert to talk on these things. So
I do think there's two sides to that coin. There is, you've got the customer that will absolutely school you. Right. You have that person who is just a savant in their specialty. They can put you to shame.
I've been humbled.
Down, right?
I've been humbled.
And I love those experiences because that gives us the opportunity to learn from them. But those are far and few between. Right. So the majority of our experiences are that person who does go online and unfortunately ends up on sites like Etsy and eBay even, and they see that this particular coin, which is just a face value coin, is being listed for asinine money. Mm-hmm. And that's just not true, right? There's no sold listings. We know it's not worth that, but they think that we're trying to take advantage of them because we say, hey, listen, you know, your quarter's worth a quarter. If I'm going to buy it from you, I'm going to give you 24 cents. Right. So it doesn't make sense that you go to a store or a coin shop and you're seeking assistance from an expert, and then you go in and you tell, no, you're wrong. because I saw it on TikTok or I saw this on Instagram.
Yep.
And that's just not the reality that we're in.
Sure. Well, I think it also just rubs people the wrong way. You know, when you're doing that with somebody who's a professional, they know this business, they can assess it for what it is, and you're telling them that they're wrong. You know, it's very possible. And there have been times where professionals have been wrong. I have been wrong.
Of course.
That happens.
We can't always be right.
Absolutely. But there's also times where I've been right and told that I've been wrong and had to just kind of take that on the chin.
I feel like that happens more than not.
And then there's the other style of customer. And I think you're very familiar with this. I became more aware of it as I've been established in the industry. But there is a class of dealer that deals in the sales that are happening through TikTok or through other digital channels.
Yep.
And they kind of come in with this attitude of they don't want you to know that they're involved in the business, right? So they kind of creepily come up and ask,
under the radar.
You know, all the cool things in the case that you know are cool and nobody else would know was cool unless they were in the business. But they ask you all those prices. They try to wiggle you in, get as low as they can possibly get. And you can just tell they're setting you up to take advantage. And those are kind of scenarios that really are off-putting to me. And when I experience that from somebody, when I know that they're just in here to take advantage of us or the prices that we're offering, I'm not motivated to do business with people like that. I feel like it's predatory.
Well, we're definitely seeing, especially with COVID, this idea that everybody can be a seller, right? So there's a difference between a dealer and a reseller. That guy who goes around and he's trying to hit up the shops for those unique opportunities where there's some money left on the table and then flip it themselves, which I'm all for. There's great space out there between Whatnot, TikTok, Instagram. There's great opportunity for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to share, right? But when you come into a shop and you don't disclose what you're doing and why you're doing it, that's just going to rub someone the wrong way.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm not going to give you that great deal, or I'm not going to put together a great package for you. But if you come in and you say, hey, look, you know, here's what I do. I sell on Whatnot. I sell on Instagram. I sell on TikTok. I'm looking to do some bulk purchases. I'm looking to drop some money. And you start building the relationship. You come in, you do a couple of transactions, and you've been honest since the get. That's a whole different story. I'm happy to do business with you. I'm happy to supply you because you're able to move stuff that I probably might take a little more time to move or might just be piling up on the shelf in the vault.
Absolutely.
So I want that. I want those relationships, but I want them done well.
Correct.
I don't want to be taken advantage of, just like I don't want to take advantage of other people.
Right. And honestly, it just comes down to the transparency, because if you're forward about what you're trying to do, if there's a way to work it out with the coin shop owner about that,
absolutely,
the extra fat inventory that they may have and moving that along quickly for them, they might oblige you.
Right. Or even if it's that new modern collectible piece that dropped and I can make $5 on it and you can turn around and make 20, even $100 on it. I might have been sitting on it for a minute and I want to move it on. Right. That's fine. But if you don't tell me, and again, you're trying to take advantage of me, well, I don't want to let that happen, right?
Right.
I'm not going to be the one who's taken advantage of, because that's just not fair.
Right. Yeah. No.
Especially since I got the shop, I got the overhead.
Right.
We're on the other side of this, right? All these things come with expenses. And again, if you want to create the relationship over time, keep that inventory flowing over time, just be honest. Yeah. Be straight with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that those coin shops that want to stay in business and continue to grow, they're looking to meet their customer needs. And truthfully, I have personal experience with with myself. When I first got into this, going into stacking, and I just kind of went head over heels. And I'll tell you, I learned very quickly the value of a local coin shop versus the purchasing online. I ended up finding I was paying quite a bit more online for certain pieces where I could have gotten a lower premium for my coin shop. And on some things, it was the other way around. But truthfully, the majority of it was put in a way where I was probably about $1.50 to $2 over per ounce compared to what I could have got at the local coin shop.
Sure.
But the most important piece kind of came to me, and it came to me through the education that was provided. They helped me understand the difference between generic and sovereign and what would be a premium collectible piece and what is the potential return for those things. They helped me identify more what my mission was and basically I figured out I wanted as many ounces as I could get for as little dollars as I could get them for.
Sure.
And it took the intervention of that coin shop owner to direct me to the right pieces to meet my goal. And when you're open and honest and there's good communication that flows between you and your LCS, you can figure out, what is the proper strategy for you? How do they help you meet your goals? And they will look to do that. I think that they'll try to step up and meet that.
A good shop will definitely try to understand why you're doing it, help you to find ways to get into it, but also to help you to understand your exit strategy on all of those types of pieces as well. And that's just something you're not going to get from a website. You're not going to get it online. It's not there. Right. It only comes from building the relationship with your LCS.
100% agree. And truthfully, I think that that's the number one value that comes out of it. It's the education and the support in helping you achieve your goals for your collecting needs, whether that be numismatic or whether that be stacking bullion.
Yeah. And to that point, that camaraderie that forms over time, that understanding of your situation, and I think you can attest to this, the majority of our customers that are stackers have actually become our friends, to the point where, we'll go out to dinner with them because it's not just about trying to make a buck off of them. It's truly about trying to help them achieve a goal.
Correct.
And through that, we build a friendship and we build community.
Yes.
And we've seen that snowball from, I told my buddy about you guys, right? And now those two guys are coming down at the same time. And then we're out back having a drink and having a cigar and we're still talking shop, but it's turned into a true community.
Absolutely. And also on the numismatic side, when we are able to engage with a new client that may not be anchored in their local coin club, we've actually been able to make referrals. We've brought people into our own local coin club. We've helped them out with engaging with the regional clubs. And getting attached to that community, keeping yourself in the loop is only going to support you and your education and what you're looking to do for your collection.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember back, I don't know, when I was a teenager, there was a local shop and the owner would on weekends actually put out a pot of coffee for everybody. He'd pick up donuts and he actually had a nice big conference table out there. And it was all about getting everybody together that enjoyed the hobby, giving you opportunity to talk coins, trade coins. And as a young collector, I had so much knowledge that was just absorbed at this table, all for nothing.
Right.
But if it weren't for that shop owner putting out the coffee and making an environment that was welcoming to everybody,
those conversations,
it never wouldn't have happened.
They wouldn't have happened.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's definitely a value there too. Getting yourself firmly planted in the community, which is a whole other topic that we can talk about maybe in a future episode.
So another part I wanted to add about having that chance to sit at the table at that shop as a teenager was it gave me a lot of opportunity to experience what was deemed acceptable when you were dealing with shops, with other people, and kind of a bit of etiquette on how we should behave in such a way, right?
Yeah.
So we touched a little bit on you kind of don't want to go in cold turkey. You don't want to come in trying to take advantage. Right?
Sure.
Of course, we all want a deal. We all would love a little fat lift on the coin or on the bullion that we're buying. But you have to remember that they're running a business, right? So one of the biggest things was that when you come into a new shop and it's your first experience, introduce yourself. Even if it's that grumpy old bastard who's giving you a mean mug, take a second. Hey, listen, my name is Tyler. It's great to meet you. I appreciate you being here, right? And then explore the different opportunities you may have. Talk to them. What do they have in excess? Or what's a new product? Or what's something really cool? What's their favorite coin, right? And within that same realm, you never want to ask, what's your most expensive coin in a shop?
Yeah, that kind of sends off some red flags, doesn't it?
It does. As a shop owner, I would say, why do you want to know that? Right? So we actually are asked that quite frequently. Number one response is, I'm sorry, we don't disclose that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that we don't keep most of our inventory on site, and it ranges anywhere from a little bit to a lot. Keep it nice and simple. Keep it vague, right? Because on our side, we don't necessarily want to share that information.
Sure.
So really anything on the financial realm is a no-go. Don't touch it. Don't approach it. Other than pricing on a coin, that type of stuff. Obviously, we understand that.
Yeah.
But don't ask about those things on the business end because that just kind of isn't appropriate.
Yeah. And I think if you truly want to know, and I'm sure that they'll be willing to share that with you, but make sure that there's a relationship there first. That way they will give you the real transparent view.
Right. I don't want to think you're coming into the shop trying to case the joint and which coin you're going to lift off me next time you stop by. Right?
And there is a little bit of suspicion because we don't know who walks in that door every day, and it could be just anybody.
Right.
But I think that you're right. Coming forward, shaking the hand, you never know. There could be a smile behind that grumpy face.
Yep.
What other tips did you learn at the table?
Well, a lot of it came down to, especially as a younger person, is that there's so much about this hobby and this industry that others have experienced first. And yes, things have changed over time, technology, resources, right? But being able to identify that cat bust $50 for the correct variety, or understanding those immediate indicators, those are the things that you should be trying to absorb and understand. So whether that's coins or whether you're trying to say, okay, what's the best bullion for the buck? Why would I buy a Canadian Maple Leaf versus American Silver Eagle? Should I be buying sovereign pieces versus generic pieces, right? So trying to absorb the information and understand that this is someone who's in the industry. They're doing this all the time. They're making a living off of it, hopefully.
Yeah.
So you should really be trusting to an extent about what information they're sharing and try to absorb and learn as much as you can. And where you can contribute, you share your experience as well.
Right.
And I definitely think that that's going to be a huge icebreaker with any shop that you get into, especially if you can continue to visit and build that rapport with them. They feel as though they're actually being valued, not just for having a shop, but they have that next generation or that next person they can share their lifetime of knowledge with, which is often overlooked, especially in a hobby that's in such a niche as ours.
Right. It is often overlooked. I mean, the value is in that education.
Right. It's not just in that coin because, again, it's a lifetime. I mean, some of these guys that come in here and that we've, met and dealt with over time, it's just amazing the stuff that they can recall off the top of their head, all these different pieces in their own collection. And when you can engage in such a way that you have appreciation for what they're doing, it makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Just off of memory, I'm recalling in our own experiences where we've learned other no-nos when it comes to etiquette. And one of the other ones that stood out pretty firmly was don't do business with other people in somebody else's place of business, right? Isn't
yes,
that one that...
I can recall one that stands out. Oh, man, this one really got under my skin was we were hosting a bid board, and a customer had turned to another customer that was in the shop and said, don't bid on that coin. I have one at home. I can sell you for less.
Wow.
And he did it right in front of me.
Oh, jeez.
And in the moment, I couldn't react because I got so frustrated. It's like, okay, so what are you going to give me, 20% on the deal here? Right? You're taking our place of business. So please, don't do that. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get the guy's phone number. Do it away from us.
Probably
we won't know about it. I don't care. But do not do it in my doors.
Agreed. You were probably not motivated to assist that guy after he was conducting himself that way.
The relationship shortly ended after that because of how he was choosing to continue to do that, even after being asked not to behave in such a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was sad to lose the customer. Of course, we don't want to see that happen, but there are certain lines, and that was one that was crossed.
Yeah, and if my memory serves me right, it might not have been the only line that was crossed with that particular customer.
No, it wasn't a one-off. Behaviors and choices definitely continued to decline from that point. And eventually we just said, hey, look, there's no more business to be done here.
Yeah. Well,
and kind of parted ways.
I think that we've covered quite a bit on what not to do, and we've given a couple of tips on what to do. We told them to go ahead and introduce themselves, see if there's a smile behind the grumpy old man. What other tips do you think we should offer?
Have fun.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. If you come in and let's say you may be a little more introverted, which, is a lot of people in this hobby, which totally understand. I myself am an introvert. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to try and understand what and why we're doing things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different reasons, a lot of different approaches. Just ask questions.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the number one thing that I would appreciate is someone who comes in, not being a nuisance and asking incredibly dumb questions, right? Not that there's dumb questions, but there is a point of, all right, come on. Like, we get it. It's a proof set. Or look, that 43 cents, still not copper. So just trying to be engaging, make it fun for the interaction on both sides, right? We have those customers that are just time sucks. And, you're taking 90 minutes of my time and you're spending $5.
Right.
That doesn't make sense, right? So be respectful of everybody's time. And if you're going to have a need, right, and you're respectful of that, they're usually more willing to give you that time and to do it in a quality way when you actually need it.
Right.
Right. So if you've been coming to me for a year now, we're talking, we have great rapport, and you're out metal detecting and you find this killer coin, right? Like we had Massachusetts Pine Tree Shilling.
Yes.
That was found by a metal detector club, actually. I think this was probably like 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
And they needed authentication on it, right? Mm-hmm. It was a good customer, and they came up. They're like, hey, look, I just need to make sure this is real, right? So at the time, it wasn't in my forte, but I knew someone who specialized in it, and I was able to coordinate, got him down to the shop, and we authenticated this piece for him. It was an awesome find. It was probably worth about $2,100 at the time.
Wow.
And it was genuine, right? So then when she submitted it to a metal detector magazine, she actually gave us credit for being the ones to authenticate it.
See, that's a great story. It really is. And honestly, I think that authentication is one of the main resources that you can leverage your LCS for.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that might be top 3, right?
Yep.
You deal with these online sellers, and there's no doubt that their buyers and their team are very well informed.
Sure.
But how are you going to get in front of them?
Yeah.
Right? Generally, you're not going to send them off a coin and say, hey, is this real? Right?
Yeah.
You're going to send that off to a grading company.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want to invest that $30 to $100 to get that coin certified. So what do? Go get an opinion from your local coin shop. Say, hey, is this legit? If you owned this, would you send it in? Can you send this in for me? Yep. Right? So having that expert opinion, or someone who can get you the expert opinion, makes all the difference, and you're not going to find that from these online sellers.
Right. You're absolutely right. And, even furthermore, in the case of, do I get that coin certified? That's a whole economic question you got to figure out.
Oh, yeah.
Is it actually going to be worth the certification costs and actually have some meat on there for you?
Right.
Or is it something where, this might be a personal, I want this in plastic.
Right. I mean, we go through it all the
mission.
time, right? Our customers come in and say, hey, look, should I certify this? I want to certify this. And you break it all down and you say, okay, what are you into it for? Why do you want to do it? All right. We had a counterfeit 55 double die the other day, but the customer was adamant. No, this was my grandfather's. It's legitimate. And it turned out it wasn't, because we did send it in for him. But those things happen because they wanted it to happen, right? And we made it clear ahead of time. You're probably just chucking your money away because this doesn't work.
Right.
So there's those opportunities where we can give our opinion, we can advise. And again, you're really not going to find that in most places.
Agreed. And it works really well when that relationship is flowing. I know that we have a lot of great customers here, and I enjoy interactions with each and every one of them. So for us, I think that we've kind of covered the value of a local coin shop pretty well.
Yep.
Given a few tips about what not to do, a couple of tips on what to do, hold that etiquette, as we were to say, in the local coin shop. And I do think that we have another topic in the works coming up for next week. We might be touching on the community aspect and the importance of the numismatic community. Until then, I'd like to say, from the Numisphere, oh, wait a minute. We got some things to talk about, don't we? Why don't you direct these wonderful listeners?
You almost missed out on it.
I know. Well, you got to direct these wonderful listeners
so
on
you
where
can
to voice their own
definitely
experiences.
Join the conversation. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all at the Numisphere, at Numisphere, right? Numisphere. Please hop on the Facebook page, share your experiences. Let us know what you think some of the value in your LCS is. We would love to hear from you.
And until then, have a great evening.